Now to the war in Ukraine. The Biden administration is sending another $600 million in military aid as the country continues its counteroffensive against Russian forces. President Volodymyr Zelensky said last night, Russia leaves death everywhere. Debora Patta is in the devastated northeastern city of Izyum, captured by Russia in the early days of the war and liberated by Ukraine last week. Debora, good morning.
Good morning. A grim discovery here in Izyum. Behind me, this forest is filled with the bodies of dozens upon dozens of civilians buried in shallow graves, some of them killed when Russian tanks and artillery rained down on this town, others executed.
When Russian forces came to Izyum, they laid waste to this town, shelling relentlessly for weeks before they had full control. Hospitals and schools blown up. Clearly not military targets. Many were killed, often buried in shallow graves at mass burial sites. And then they attempted to erase every trace of Ukrainian identity. They burned our books, destroyed our schools, removed our TV channels, and put on Moscow's propaganda, Yulia Kozyobenko told us. And then there was the torture of anyone with connections to the military. Those who served in the security forces were found, she said, taken away and beaten. In some cases, even worse. But even harder to bear than the loss of their culture and soul was the knowledge that some amongst their midst had betrayed them. Yulia's husband was one of them. She's denounced him as a traitor. My husband is working with the Russians in Kherson.
Your husband's collaborating with Russians?
He no longer exists for me, she said. Then there were those who say they had no choice but to take what Russia gave them, like Svetlana Fisher, who says their mayor abandoned them. I couldn't leave. Nobody helped me, she said angrily. Now I'm a traitor because I had to survive on Russian rations. But as the full extent of Russian atrocities is revealed, bitterness has turned to hatred in Izyum for the people who brought death to this town.
Over the next few days, the grim task of exhuming and identifying the bodies begins. Each victim here is loved by someone, a personal trauma for those who mourn them, and another national tragedy for war crimes prosecutors to investigate. For CBS Mornings, Debora Patta, Izyum, Ukraine.